Another week, another set of hot takes in Overwatch 2. Here we go. Remember to leave yours in the comment. Don't write an essay. Just keep it nice and short. Hot take. There can be no perfect meta. As long as the devs keep patching and adding in heroes, the meta will be one of three things. Dev motivated, player-based cause, or an accidental bug, quick fix quality of life change that exploits the game. See seasons where a hero's simple, strong, or weak debut or issue overstayed many patches. The devs load themselves with issues to create players to complain in the game to eventually expose. That is a very complicated sentence, if I'm going to be honest with you. A couple of sentences. I'm not sure if I follow you exactly on what you're going with your reasoning, but I agree with the first take. Not that hot where you're saying there can be no perfect meta. There's no such thing. Perfect is subjective by nature. Perfect could be somebody who loves dive, and a perfect meta to them would be, you know, the Tracer, Genji, Doomfist. They love that, and that's a perfect meta to them. But somebody who likes poke, like me, I love Sigma, Vap, Zen. That's perfect to me. And like you said though, on the second and third parts, as long as devs keep patching and adding in heroes, the meta is, I wouldn't say dev motivated. I don't think they're intending to create a meta themselves. The meta is a result of player perception and player perception to the hero's strength. Sometimes heroes are vastly overtuned, sometimes unintentionally, and recently the devs have backtracked on some of these changes. For example, Magga in the midseason was overbuffed. I don't think they realized how good it was. And then when players perceived it to be very strong, and it genuinely was strong, they backtracked and reverted it 1 week later. So saying it's dev motivated, accidental bug can also create meta, so I'm actually with you on that one. Right now, as it stands, the unstoppable mechanic is bugged because they haven't outright said it's a change to that mechanic. So if you Doom punch an Orisa who's fortifying, or a Magga punching, or you Brig Bash, or you Ryan charge into them, you fall down and you get stunned, which naturally makes Magga and Orisa very good. Magga just got nerfed, so recently in the OWCS patch as of March 23rd, it's a lot of Orisa. It was Magga last patch, and right now it's Orisa because that unstoppable bug is still in the game, which honestly sort of makes Doom unplayable. If you're aware of that interaction, it makes Ryan unplayable. For other reasons, that's another reason to add to his list. It makes Brig really hard to play because like they can just for free like knock you down. And who else is affected by that bug? Those are the main three. But yeah, the take has some good parts, but some of it I don't agree with the dev creating it. Next. Ooh, this is actual hot take. Magga doesn't have bad hero design. He merely exists in a state of Overwatch where tank is unfun to play. We do not have a frame of reference for the big guy. We don't have a frame of reference for the big guy who doesn't die and blasts dual miniguns like the badass he is. Listen, I think Magga is a badass, and everybody can agree with that. His story, his lore, his character, he's big brute, big bruiser, big muscles. I think he's a badass for sure, but having his like cool lore is a separate variable to hero design, and honestly I think his hero design is not very good. I think it's bad, so I think it's a hot take where you think it is a bad design. He exists in a state where tank is unfun to play. True, but like his design itself is so like counterintuitive to like what can be perceived as fun. Shooting a tank nonstop is not fun. Being able to engage, like choose and have the agency to shoot the tank or to reach for the back line is a lot healthier for the game. And as it currently stands, Magga is just much better because Magga is much better at just farming the tank because that's how all his sustain is pretty much made. If you shoot the squishies, there's too much spread from medium to long distances that's not worth it over the long run. It does do decent damage if you just shoot one gun to set him on fire and then the right gun for the other one. But like in general, in mid to long ranges, like yes, he's range limited, but like he doesn't have any options and no gap close to all the way to the back line. So you're stuck shooting the tank. That's it. And I feel like that's just not fun or great design. There has to be some aspect of his kit to make it, to disincentivize him from just shooting the tank nonstop, or else you just end up with like snooze fests. Hot take. Thorn, a Lifeweaver's Thorn volley DPS playstyle is significantly more impactful than heal botting, or even 50-50 between healing and DPS. You get faster tree, higher pressure, and high ground contest. That is definitely a hot take because that is completely comp dependent. There is no world where I believe Lifeweaver's Thorn volley DPS playstyle is better against hyper mobile heroes like a Doom Tracer Genji or Doom Tracer Sombra Lucio Kiriko. You're just gonna be shooting and then they're gonna blink away from you and disappear. That is completely, again, comp dependent. When you say you build faster tree, that depends on whether you're doing way more damage than you are with healing, because damage and healing are equal 1-to-1 in terms of ultimate charge rate. Granted, of course, if you're healing your own tank, you receive 25% less ult charge, and if you're shooting thorns on the enemy roadhog and enemy tank, you do gain less ult charge there. But for comparatively speaking, and for simplification, that's one way to assess it there. High ground contest. I mean, you have to burn a platform to go there, so you don't have it defensively. So if you're burning your platform to contest it, you better make sure you win that duel. Can you really win a 1v1 duel against all the heroes in the game? Some of them will be a little easier than others, but if you go up on a high ground, for some reason Tracer's there meeting you there, I don't think you're winning that in most cases. It is definitely favorable for the Tracer unless she colossally messes up. So definitely a hot take. Don't agree with this one at all. I will say it's a little bit underrated. I do think like having a little bit more Lifeweaver DPS mixed into your playstyle instead of 100% heal botting can have a calculated risk, but also a pretty good reward if done right. In any case, next hot take: the general player base has gotten worse since the get out of jail free abilities have been added, such as Suzu and Life Grip. There's no need to track cooldowns or ult charge, you can just Suzu it. I wouldn't say the general player base has gotten worse overall, but it's definitely a bad habit that has been built. But again, Overwatch is built up of like 20 different skills, and maybe one where you're kind of blindly just like, you know, taking a duel or risk that you probably shouldn't in most cases. But if you understand that you have a Suzu or defensive ability and it's pre-called before, I wouldn't say you're worse as a player. You understand that you have that ability and your support and you and them are aligned, and they're aware that they're gonna Suzu you or grip you out. That can be a strategy more than anything. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go deep, go for this random high noon like in their backline, and if it goes bad, life grip me out. Is that, if you do it like just blindly without any coordination, then you can argue it's a bad play because there's too much risk getting your Lifeweaver in position. But I don't know, part of it could be strategy. So yeah, I don't agree with that completely, but it is definitely a bad habit if to always rely on those abilities when, especially if you don't have them. Hot take: many of the maps hinder flyers' opportunities to be effective with the existence of random signs, posts, and railings that need to be shot or avoided in order to hit/land your shots and maneuver properly. Until these are removed, flyers will always be at a bit more of a disadvantage than other standard DPSs. I know you wrote the word hinder flyers, but like when you say hinder, I kept thinking of Cassidy's nade and it confused me for a moment. I see what your sentence was going at, but please, for the love of God, like put it through like a grammar check. That was a pain to read out loud, but I know what you mean. You're basically saying that flyers, Pharah or Echo, will be at a disadvantage because of railings and those objects built into the map environment because they may eat or tank a shot. Now, I agree with this. I wouldn't say it like they're always at a bit of a disadvantage. It's like pretty minuscule. You can argue some hit scans and other heroes are also going to be at a disadvantage. For example, if you are attacking Hollywood first and there's that, you know, that high ground right underneath that archway and those railings haven't been shot, they could effectively tank one of your shots from another hero, not necessarily just flyers. So all heroes could be at a disadvantage in that sense. And if anything, if you're a flyer, you actually have a top-down angle on a bunch of the railings and guardrails and things and destroyables. But so I don't think, yeah, the flyers necessarily have a disadvantage, but I actually will agree with you. They should just remove the railings on competitive maps. Like, I don't think it's necessary. We're at a point in the game, I get it, it's like the map aesthetic, but like it's so annoying. It can definitely block stuff. They recently made it so Sombra's Translocator, if it collides with the railing, it now passes through and breaks it for you instead of it stopping there, because that definitely hindered or slowed down Sombra's effectiveness. It can be so annoying when you do a Sombra engage, chuck a Translocator, but it hits a railing and it stops there. So just remove the railings completely in the game, or make them all cosmetic and let you pass through, or bullets can go through it. But if the bullets go through it, that would just be a little unintuitive sometimes. It's like, huh? Just seeing bullets fly through map environments for new players and casual players. So my argument is just remove them. Who cares? Just get rid of them. Don't need to be there. Or if they're there, as soon as, like, you know, in the pregame, when there's 45 seconds setting up, 3, 2, 1, attackers go, or the, you know, the spawn doors open, then all of them just disappear. Okay? So you get to keep the aesthetic and then they disappear when the competitive match starts. That's the middle ground. Hot take, Blizzard indirectly encourages GM players to smurf on console. Once you are in GM, you play at least against one Zimmer, mouse and keyboard, most of the time. Therefore, most of the games feel miserable and you feel powerless. The only reason you lost is because you played on controller instead of cheating with the Zim. Blizzard does not fix this issue, so as a GM player, you either have a miserable time or smurf in plat lobbies and roll them instead of getting rolled. Okay, so I understand Ziming is a very big problem. For those who don't know, Ziming is effectively aimbotting on console because you plug in a mouse and keyboard, but the console recognizes it still as a controller, so you get the benefit of being a mouse and keyboard gamer with more precise aim, with the benefit of natural controller aim assist. So when you track, it is like, it like follows them very, very effectively. It is soft aimbot. And every console player considers this pretty much cheating. Like, why, if you're going out of your way to do that, you're pretty much a cheater. So, but like not officially. Blizzard does need to do something about Zim, but at the same time, a lot of games too, because Zimming isn't just an Overwatch problem. It is a problem not only in this title. A lot of other titles had to fight with Zimming on console. I don't even know if it's possible because you have to go through Sony and Xbox, and there needs to be something done to the hardware itself to not allow mouse and keyboard input on a PlayStation or Xbox or a Nintendo Switch, right? So it may not even just be a Blizzard problem. It's a fight with it's a fight with the hardware manufacturing more than anything. But I'm not an expert in this. But Aaron recently in the interview with Flats did say they are aware of it. So I don't know if anything can be done, but it's sort of like a back and forth war. So if and whatever they're doing to it, they'll have to keep close to their chest. They can't reveal what's in store, but that's basically the takeaway from that interview that I heard from him. This shouldn't be a hot take, but role passes benefiting some heroes more than others isn't a problem. You just have to account for it when balancing heroes, such as how Tracer becomes broken by being the beneficiary of the DPS passive and may need a compensatory nerf, and they do help to give roles an identity. I agree. I don't think it's a hot take. Role passives will certainly, if you do like an entire role ability or a passive ability, certainly there will be heroes that are big winners and some that are losers. Check the old DPS passive with the reload. Hanzo received no benefits while others got big benefit. And in this one, applying the DPS passive is inherently better on heroes that have like a big radius and lots of pellets of damage. Like a Reaper can just apply it across the map as long as a single bullet tags them. But someone like Hanzo, if you whiff 3 shots in a row, you're not applying the passive until you land 1 arrow. And who knows if you miss the next 3 before you land your second one, where it's no longer effective because it's only 2 seconds for the passive. So a compensatory nerf if it gets out of hand is true, or a compensatory buff for those who are not benefiting from it. I agree. Not a hot take, actually. Good take. Hot take, the devs don't have a support design problem. They have a, we don't know how to design characters that DPS enjoy facing that players also enjoy playing problem. I think inherently DPS players will just enjoy dueling another DPS player for the most part. They don't like dealing with a role that inhibits them in any capacity. But that's not just a DPS player problem. That's just a gamer problem. Gamers in general, the psychology is like you want to pop off and you hate it when you can't pop off due to things that feel like are out of your control and are inferior in skill representation than you. If they can look down and go invulnerable for a moment, it's extremely annoying. Any sort of invincibility and vulnerability, healing can feel very annoying to play against no matter what. So it's I guess in a way you're right. They don't have a support design problem. That's just the nature of a support hero in any game. Healing, some sort of invulnerability, resurrections. They're just annoying. No DPS hero enjoys playing against that. Any League players watching or listening to this, it's annoying dealing with Tryndamere's invulnerability for 5 seconds at the end. It's annoying to deal with a Zillion rezzing you. It's annoying to deal with disruptive CC and all that kind of stuff. That's just a gamer thing. I just think it's a gamer thing. Hot take, I think OG tanks from Overwatch 1 need some major reworks. Okay, based. Most of the tanks were designed with 6v6 in mind, and I think they need some R&D to make tank feel more impactful and less like you're just falling over when you try to make a play. Okay, I agree with this. I don't think this is a hot take. Some OG tanks got a better benefit than others. Zarya did get reworked a bit to get 2 bubbles, which makes her certainly viable. Roadhog needed that complete rework from Overwatch 1 to make him better in the 5v5 environment. Ryan right now is the hottest topic. He's a very popular hero, was a very popular hero in Overwatch 1. He fell off a cliff because his playstyle and archetype is just fallen behind on when compared to other tanks that do his role, a brawler. You just brawl with Orisa or Ramattra and you have a much better time than brawling with Reinhardt because he's stuck either holding a shield or swinging his his hammer. While Orisa can literally fight the enemy doing that, Ramattra can use a staff and change forms and completely change like the style that you can play. Ryan has 2 styles, swing or shield. And if you're caught in the middle, Orisa has a couple of buttons to, you know, spin, invulnerability in the front, super tank, get back into cover, and then shoot back if needed. And then Ramattra can block, go back into the form, put up a shield, hide in the corner. Ryan, 1 shield. If the shield breaks, he's done. If he's in a bad spot, and if he decides to use his gap closer or his charge, he gets destroyed. So probably Ryan right now, big one. Give him some invulnerability. Maybe not invulnerability, some tankiness when he's charging to keep up with how Magga's charge works and how other heroes have mitigation. That's my take. Hot take. Ooh, okay. This one's good. I glanced at this one. Content creators play almost a completely different game to the rest of us, and going to them for advice is unhelpful. That's like asking a professional chef with thousands of dollars worth of equipment who has to make consistent, amazing food quickly and why your craft single grilled cheese isn't melting properly. They can help you with some of the stepping stones to get to a higher level, but they're far too out of touch to help the average player. Okay, comparatively speaking, yes and no. I can see where you're coming from, but I disagree that they can't help you, and going to us for advice isn't helpful. There's plenty of high-level chefs or high-level professionals, high math professors who are very good at what they do. Some content creators are very good at the game, but they're able to teach you and give you the stepping stones and can still be very helpful in other aspects. Like having the $1,000 of equipment, that analogy, I see where you're coming from, but that's not all creators. So maybe because I feel biased and I feel targeted here, because I feel like I'm trying to offer good, helpful advice in a lot of cases. This hot takes video is a bit more of like poking fun at people's opinions, but I do feel like I've put out over the 7-8 years that I've been doing this, some good quality stuff that has helped people or inspired them in some capacity. And there's other ways to do it. And not all creators are great at it. I'm not saying I'm the best at it by any means, but it's kind of going back to another analogy where you can have these math teachers that are like really, really smart, but they don't know how to teach and give you helpful advice. And that's some of the content creators you're probably thinking of. That math teacher is way too ahead of the steps, and he doesn't, you know, he can't help your craft singles grilled cheese while he's making like 20 cheese shredded grilled cheese. But then there's going to be those other math professors or teachers who are still equally as smart or just as smart, but the skill is teaching, and there's a skill to teach and a skill to present information in a non-convoluted way that's easier to digest and help you with those stepping stones to get better and to improve. So maybe I just don't like being lumped all together with all the creators that, you know, can't be helpful. But yeah, hot take, the DPS passive is fine at 20%, but abilities should not be proccing the 20% reduced healing, currently 15%. We buffed projectile sizes, so now let's reward accuracy by making the passive on primary fire only. This will also help some of the worst ultimates in the game that actually use primary in their duration. Yes and no. I think if you do remove the abilities not proccing it, you really have to do compensatory nerfs and buffs. For example, Ashe is very good at applying it. I do think it's a little egregious to dynamite somebody and their DPS passive for 7 seconds. It's 5 seconds for the burn. That entire time you're healing reduced, and for 2 seconds afterwards, because that's the end of the tail end duration of it. So 7 seconds for a single dynamite. That's pretty much the entire uptime if you constantly dynamite somebody. So I agree, but if you are gonna, in that sense, I agree. But if you do give it to primary fire only, what happens to heroes that can't land reliable primaries all the time? Heroes like Widowmaker don't really apply it because they're just sniping every so often. They miss a couple of shots. Heroes like Tracer or Reaper, who can constantly like hit with like a single pellet, can apply it. So there's an idea where there's like a buildup of DPS passive. A certain threshold of damage will apply the maximum amount. So if you're a Hanzo and you do hit one shot, you apply it. But if only like a few pellets that you're just plucking from a distance tag somebody for like 3 damage, like one random stray pulse pistol bullet from Tracer at max fall off range, it won't apply. It's a percentage because it's only 3 damage, but you need like 50 damage to get the full 15 or 20% healing reduction with DPS passive. That's the middle ground. But as it stands, I think Overwatch wants to keep it simple, so they're just like, this is just the role passive. This is just how it works. And honestly, these are just like very fine-tuning knobs that could work, but like, I don't think they're gonna go in that direction, but it could work. The current one is honestly fine right now, even as it stands, and your take on it is also fine, removing it from abilities and doing it for only primary. But yeah, last one of the video. Oh, Overwatch, hot take. Overwatch streamers and content creators excessively defend Blizzard because it is in their financial interest to do so, their collab opportunities, etc. I understand how it can appear that way. There are certainly many things to be critical of Blizzard. I've been maybe not as vocal or as critical as others, but there are plenty of big creators who are very critical when certain things come out, and they're still invited to a lot of things. There's one thing that you guys have to know is that, like, as long as we're not like blindly disparaging personal employees and things like that and harassing them, that is a completely different thing than criticizing Blizzard's business decisions and models and stuff like that. We're all okay to do that. Like, that's not something they're able to control or want to control, and it doesn't hurt us in the way that you probably think it does. Because if you perhaps look at some of the creator summits or things that some creators are invited at, there's a lot of people, sometimes people on Reddit, like, why are these people, why is this person still getting invited to so-and-so when they always say this XYZ? Because you can, like I said, you can criticize constructively, but obviously if it gets out of hand and it becomes like way too emotionally charged and it becomes less about the company and more about this person did this and this person did that, then obviously like inviting them to something personal where you have to see them can feel a little awkward and uncomfortable, and I can defend them there, being like, okay, we probably don't want that creator because they said this person's a piece of shit, and that piece of shit that they called is gonna be at the thing, so like they're gonna be like, yo, I don't want to see that person. They literally like disparage me, whether it's justified or not. Maybe it is, but you know, so you know, I haven't heavily criticized, but I've criticized it. Maybe I don't heavily criticize because it's just not in me, because like I have this certain personality trait where like I don't care. I don't care enough. I'm not invested enough. Like I just make my content and I go about my day, because my priority isn't to like be all like up in people's gaming companies' business. I just want to like make good content. I like the game as it is. I never agreed with their monetization model. I do think $19 for skin is outrageous. I've said that before. Right at the beginning, I was like, yo, why were they locking heroes behind the battle pass? I don't think that's good. Like, I've said all those things, but like maybe it's because I'm not loud enough that people think I'm defending them just because I'm silent. But I'm not. I just don't use all the platforms in a way that everybody expects a chronically online person to be, because I'm not chronically online. Anyways, I'm going on a rant here. At the end of the day, I will say, at least the creators I'm aware of and the ones that I've talked to, they most certainly do not defend Blizzard in every avenue. Okay. Oh, before I go that, one more point about defending Blizzard. If you're not defending Blizzard and you're attacking Blizzard, I would argue it's actually better in their financial interest. You said there's collab opportunities. Dunking on Blizzard is like a trendy thing, and you get so many views on, you get so much engagement on Twitter, you get so many, like, if I just looked up the downfall of Blizzard or Overwatch monetization, blah, 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 there's a gazillion videos attacking Blizzard, and those people getting all those 100,000 views are making more money than any sort of collab opportunities that you can think of. That's my counter hot take. All right, and I'm gonna leave you at that. It was a spicy episode today. Leave more in the comments. Goodbye.